Hello, welcome to Contemporary Current. I'm joined with my co-host Calvin and
Well,
also Robbie Wills. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing fine.
Doing
Robbie's
just
the
okay.
PNG. I'm Calvin.
I love being a PNG.
It's all right.
It brings me life.
We're all PNGs at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't like showing my emotions.
A picture's
that's
worth a
okay.
thousand words.
Exactly. That's what it comes down to.
Um, yeah,
We have a show planned for you tonight. Planned is a strong word. Doing a
so
lot of lifting.
yeah, we have
Rough
what's on
outline.
everyone's mind right now, the election. How are you guys feeling? How are you guys feeling about Trump too?
I got a lot of feelings. A lot of them revolve around just conspiracies about Kamala throwing the election. I think it was on purpose.
I wouldn't. I don't know if I would personally personally feel that way.
I said I have a lot of conspiracy. That's just one of them.
Mhm. Well, let's start with what went wrong for Kamala. What's the number one thing that happened that caused such an electoral disaster
I
for
don't think
Kamala and the Democrats?
I don't think it's that crazy to imagine that it's not I wouldn't say it's anything Kamala did herself. I would actually say it's the people around her that kind of fucked her over.
Okay.
Because I think it's been a talking point around the internet, and I largely agree that the DNC gives, like, at least on the internet, gives off this impression that like white men kind of suck, and I feel like when you have that narrative around your platform, that you have to combat the narrative because the demographic is so prevalent in the country. Like it's the majority of the country is white. Like you can't just ignore that. But like I
And
don't.
where do you think that comes from? Because I don't
I
feel
think it
like
comes from the right. But the thing is that the Democratic Party does a poor job combating that narrative.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't really know what you can do to get that back because
I definitely think
there
people
really
believe
isn't a
that
way.
for sure. Even if I don't
Like
I
I
agree with
wouldn't say it's
Charlie. I don't
true.
agree that the DNC is putting forth that messaging, but I definitely think people believe that.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I'm not saying that
Like,
they have to do something because like what is like Trump, for all of his foibles or whatever you want to call him, like just he's so good at deflecting that uh people don't care about the perceived uh bad things that he has.
They can put
Um
whatever meaning they want onto it.
right. And I think when he does that, he has this like way of convincing someone who won't think for themselves really easily.
Mhm.
Because you'll see it all the time. People, like, he says things like, "Oh yeah, this is how it works," and it's like it's not how it works. Like the one that popped up a lot over before the election was like people finding out how tariffs work for the first time, and
oh
Right.
yeah,
it was like insane. It was just like because Trump said this is how it's gonna, like, this is what the result will be. Like that's
yeah.
how it would work.
He just
It's just
told
like,
people, other people pay for tariffs, and left it at that.
yeah, it's like, oh, the China will tariff goods from China to make the incentive to make things in China or in America, and it's like, no, you just continue making things in China because it's still cheaper to make them there, and then you
Mhm.
pass the difference in cost on the consumer.
Right.
Yeah,
Uh,
Yeah.
Simple stuff, but I mean, simple to once you understand it, but the fact that people don't really realize what it actually is, and he could just like pretend to tell you the truth. I think that's what it comes down to. Is that he is the progenitor of alternative facts.
Right.
I think
Yeah. I
to circle back to your initial point about it's the people around Kamala that kind
Yeah,
of costed her points. I think there was a lot of perception, and I think even her own admission, where she kind of just probably lacking time to build a team, just kind of wrapped herself around like the people who've been running Biden and Hillary's campaigns,
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
who
you saw
have
Hillary.
not been doing a great job with campaigning for
Yeah.
Democrats.
Right. And like
Yeah.
Biden's campaign basically was won by people not liking Trump.
Right. It was a combination of not liking Trump and just wanting to elect a boring, experienced old white guy.
Right. Yeah, I think what the Democrats, what it came down to for them was it was aesthetics, right? They didn't have a real like alternative to Trumpism. They were just saying, you know, this is a bad dude. We're the good guys, and we're gonna make things better for you. Even though, what did Biden do that was different from Trump? Like really much. He kept, a lot of the border policies. He tried to make them even worse. He tried to hawk that bipartisan border bill as if it was some great victory.
I mean, Biden did have the Chips Act, which was pretty good.
Yeah,
Which
but he let that expire, right? That was
I mean, the reason the Chips Act would have been good is that at the time, COVID was crazy. Still dealing with. I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't even know the time limit on these tariffs that we would have had when Trump put them on China. But all
Mhm.
those microchips are being made overseas, right? And then you have cryptocurrency popping off. Uh, People buying a bunch of graphics cards. Like new cars are being like way more expensive because of all the chips inside. Um, and then his idea, I guess, was to bring microchip uh, production stateside
Mhm.
to like make jobs and increase production on chips in general to like lessen to increase supply. At least that's how it reads to me. I know that there's people. I know the specific uh, wording of it can get kind of concerning because I believe that it was just a like a, not, I don't want to say a blank check, but I think it was like they were giving a bunch of money to people who already had the companies to make these factories or plants or whatever you want to call them.
Mhm.
And that's just kind of lining the pockets of those people who are rich. Um,
Right.
so and you're like acting on good faith almost in a way, but I think it did end up working out. I don't actually know. I will say.
I think this really comes down to how I'm feeling about it. With that, a lot of Biden's wins and stuff he's doing is just not very glamorous, which doesn't have to be bad, shouldn't be bad, but in our current landscape, like, just like your win being described as like, oh, you're all this investing in Microsoft chip investment manufacturing, like, it just doesn't like sell a campaign like it everything Trump's doing, even though the
Right. My
stuff Trump's
my
doing is
mother
insane.
my mother just last week, right it was either right before the election or right after the election. She was like, I don't know a thing Biden did during his 4 years, and I was just like, well, I feel
Right.
like that says a lot about just like the news cycle in general and how a
Because there
Trump
are,
voter views.
and I've even like read the
But
articles because you get those people who are like, this is all of Biden's wins, and it's like all these articles about all the stuff he's doing. It's all like nothing really substantial or tangible or something that will be felt immediately, which is kind of how a lot of stuff works. Like I said,
well,
it
he
shouldn't be
also did
bad. It just shouldn't be like your national level politics when it feels like there's a lot of stuff people want addressed. And like how robust our microchip, domestic microchip manufacturing with the Chips Act isn't.
it's
It's just
not
not some.
sexy.
It's not sexy. It doesn't really address what a lot of people are feeling needs to be addressed by at least the highest authorities in our country.
He did do student loan forgiveness, did he not? I don't have student loans. So I don't know
Kind
know much about it
of.
It,
personally.
but it was a very like small subset of, I'm sure someone's gonna fact check us and be like,
Because it
thousands
was
of
like you had to be
whatever
like under a
people got
certain
their student loans
provider.
forgiven, but I didn't get any of mine forgiven. I don't know really what the criteria was. A lot of his like initial plan got blocked. Um, so, and that was a major thing he ran on. I remember the going back to the 2020 primary, that was something he tried to undercut Bernie on. He was like, "Oh well, Biden's gonna do this student loan forgiveness," but I don't remember if he really ever did anything that substantial with it.
No, I think you had to. I think there was like all sorts of hoops you had to jump through to qualify, and you'd be under a certain provider.
Yeah, you had to
Um,
make a certain
I don't think it.
amount of money,
I don't think we qualified
but
for it either, but we just used the payoff freeze to pay it off. She was almost done.
yeah, he paused the payments for a long time, which was nice. But
Yeah, I mean, I had to I lost my whole job and to change careers because of that. It was wild.
yeah,
In 2019, I was like, man, the American student loan business, this ain't going anywhere.
yeah, right. I still haven't started paying them back. I'm just gonna wait till they repo my car or whatever. But that is a good point. Like a lot of what Biden did was not immediately felt. I mean, imagine or think back to, you know, Trump with COVID. He gave us two $1,000 checks. Like people
and
felt
a
that.
smaller one too.
And like, he
Yeah.
didn't.
Oh, well, remember Biden came into office. We were expecting that other
2,000.
$2,000 check or something,
800
and
plus
then they start.
1,200 equals 2,000.
Yeah, they cut it in half or whatever. Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck
Yeah, it was
was
like
that?
six
Like
hundred
that was
dollars, something like
turned
that, right?
Yeah.
right?
Because they were like, oh, if you add it to the last one Trump gave you, it's the full
Yeah, it's like, oh, we kind of like, yeah,
amount.
followed up with our promise, but
But even that, because like not a lot of stuff Trump did was immediately felt, but a lot of what Trump
yeah,
does is they don't let you forget about it. So Trump didn't build the
right,
wall, but they talked about the wall. They talked about what they were doing with the wall. They talked about like they just
yeah,
talked about it
Wasn't
constantly.
I think the thing with the wall is that the wall was like already there.
Oh yeah, they did a lot of like touring of existing fences and called it the wall.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they were trying to build a wall like even before Trump, and
Right.
he was a useful idiot, I guess you could say, in a lot of ways because he was like, let's do this, and they're like, oh, that's helpful, but they wanted to do it anyway.
Right. Because like it's very good optics for the Democrats to point at Republican border cruelty. Uh, but I think the truth is an alarming amount of Americans do support the our border policies and would like
I
it to
don't
be harsher.
I don't necessarily think the wall is a problem. It's just that like when the policies of becoming a citizen or immigrating are so bad that like the wall just comes off as racist. Like if the wall was already there and the problem was people were still getting in anyway, like then the conversation changes, right? Like because I don't really think like I understand that the concept of building a wall comes off pretty like nationalist or xenophobic.
Mhm.
Um and I get it. I don't really think it's like if it wasn't such a waste of money, I really wouldn't care
See,
that they were putting it there.
that's what I mean. Like a lot of people, and that's a sentiment shared with. It's like not an uncommon sentiment. A lot of
Right.
people I've talked to want
I don't want
harder
it. I just don't really like.
ambivalence. It's just not like as big a sticking point. So like not many people want it to be easier, actively easier to immigrate. Um, I
Right, but
don't think
I'm also
people
not
are
out there.
immigrating specifically like because it's easy. I think they're doing it
Right,
because that's kind of been our whole vibe is that the grass is always greener.
right, and I also don't like the whole drug thing. Like, oh, they're bringing drugs over. Like those come through like the most common checkpoints on the regular like immigration like checkpoint trails, like just
Well, yeah,
crossing the border.
because that's a
Like that's
whole
like 90% of all the drugs and all the so like all the crime that they're like trying to like claim comes over illegally isn't even affected by the wall to begin with.
right because it's
So
all
if
just like to justify ICE's existence and funding
right,
more than
so
it is to actually stop anything.
right, so what I'm saying essentially is that the wall being a physical object is bad, just like optically, and making it now is bad
It's an aesthetic
like
thing.
optically.
It's
Yeah,
to show,
it's like
you
if
know,
you. Yeah, go ahead.
xenophobes that we're doing something big. We're making a big fucking wall. We might make a freaking moat with alligators next. Like it's just
Right.
something to
It's like
show people.
Right, and that's
it's like
kind of what
if
I was talking
China
about. It
didn't
didn't.
make the Great Wall of China,
Right.
what happens? You know what I mean? Like, was it the Mongols? Did they just take over the area?
I mean that. I'm
Because
actually
that's like
not
what that's like
well
that's like
versed
what
on
that's
how
like
effective
what
the
the
Great Wall
Republicans
was.
think. The Republicans think that Mexicans and illegal immigrants are going to take over America because there was no Great Wall of Mexico on Texas.
Right. Well, you can't even say
And
Republicans think that too, because Kamala was literally campaigning on that Biden built the wall more than Trump did.
Yeah. Well, he was the border czar.
Yeah.
Remember?
well, another thing that's interesting. Did you guys see that Washington Post article where it was they put policies of both candidates in front of Trump supporters and Kamala supporters,
Mhm.
and then Kamala's policies were more popular overall, but even with Trump supporters, like more popular than his own.
I mean, we've been seeing that for
It just
however long since
it's
Obamacare
yeah,
came out.
it's just literally willful ignorance about all the issues.
And even then, I'm sure that's been happening for a while. I've been
Well,
a
I
big
think
proponent that we should keep proposing more and more progressive policies under increasingly ridiculous and patriotic names.
well, I
Just in
think that
general,
comes
I
down
think
to
that's a
the
solid strategy.
Democrat. Yeah, they want to seem like the Republican light. They don't want to say, "Here's our policies." They don't want to go back to think about the classic conception of or perception of what a Democrat versus Republican is. A Democrat, you learn in school, they provide more social benefits. Republicans get rid of social benefits with less taxes. I think the Democrats need to go back to that. They need to be the party of social benefits, whether it comes to that or not. They can't just go with both sides. Like, look at us. We're
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
non-crazy
you
Republicans.
also can't just campaign on racism
Yeah.
and
well
sexism.
you can if you're
Yeah,
not a
but they
Democrat. A
gotta
Democrat
they
shouldn't
should
be campaigning on those things.
well right, but I mean anti is what I really mean. But because that's kind of when it comes
That, though. Like, what was Kamala's real message? Like, what?
that's
Like,
the
I don't.
thing.
What did they even say? Like, Trump is crazy, but we're the same thing. We're the Republicans now. We're
Right.
George Bush. Look
That's
at us,
why
Liz Cheney.
that's what I'm saying. I think they were like genuinely scared of how much momentum they got initially. Like they were actually worried they'd have to govern.
Yeah.
Uh, that's I think where my conspiracy that she threw it is coming in. I think they were actually worried because think about the energy when Biden finally stepped down. It's like, okay, cool, the vice president's finally stepping up for the first time in American history outside of assassinations.
Yeah.
And then Tim Waltz was really good. He had that energy that came out with the couch fucking and calling him weird. And
Yeah,
it just
that's what
seems
I like that message. They were weird, JD Vance fucks couches, but then they kind
they
of pivoted to
slammed the brakes very
And I
quickly
think
on all of that.
I think it's understated just how much JD Vance in particular benefited from going on Joe Rogan just a week before the election because he comes off. I mean, I haven't watched it, but people who have watched it and already had an opinion told me he comes off as an extremely normal person, and I
Yeah.
was just really surprised by that because I feel like in the debate he came off extremely strange, and I don't know if that's just me, but I thought it was interesting because Kamala supposedly had an opportunity to go on Rogan.
Yeah,
I think she should have taken.
It didn't
and I think
seem
that was-
like either Joe Rogan or Kamala wanted that interview to happen because, she said, "Yeah, you just come to the White House," and he was like, "No, you have to come to Texas," and so neither of them really wanted that to happen. Like, if he wanted it to have happened, he could have just went and did it.
Well,
But,
right.
like, they
So
both kind of
the thing is I
didn't want
actually
it to
agree with
happen.
Rogan in that scenario, because it wouldn't have been genuine for her in that if it came off, if like they made him go to the White House for it, it would have been super sus. Everyone would have been like, oh, of course he's gonna answer the questions correctly because they're at the White House, and it's like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? It wouldn't
I
do
don't think
anything
that's a
for her.
good reason not to do it. Like, I don't think that's a
To
good.
have to go to the White House.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good
Well,
reason
Joe
for him
Rogan-
to have turned it down. I just don't think he really like.
They wouldn't have let Kamala like phone into to Joe. I don't watch the show, but like,
Right,
does
me
he
either.
have people
Not anymore.
just phone in?
No,
Like,
no, they have to be there.
they have to be there.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they have to be, but they always are there.
Oh, I do agree that like, as far as if you want to reach the most quote unquote normal working class Americans, you know, like the middle class, like that is where you need to be
It's a
right
good
now.
first step. Also,
I don't think it's a good. I don't think it's good optics to look out like, oh, I'm too good for Joe Rogan.
The Democrats put John Fetterman on Joe Rogan.
He sucks.
Yeah, he sucks.
He
No one likes him.
sucks.
I don't dislike John Fetterman, like policy wise. I don't really care anymore because like that ship has sailed. But he's like
he's an insane Israel guy. That's
he's
what happened.
right. His mental state though, like he has that like short term memory issue going on, where it's hard for him to have a conversation.
I think the problem is
So he
it was his long-term
terrible.
memory that was killing him, because he was like, oh man, this is my chance to be a Bush era Iraq war like hero.
I mean,
And it's like, no, we're past that. We're just mad at you now.
Well, he started out as a guy who's like, "Oh, I'm from this fucking wasn't he a mayor or something?" He's like, "I'm a mayor of this town that sucks. Like, I'm gonna be a representative for people who also live in towns that suck." And then like he was just like, "Oh, I'm actually a crazy Israel guy or something." So not only does he look like shit, but his policies are shit now too. And yeah, Robbie, like you said, not a good guy to put on fucking
Joe
Joe
Rogan.
Rogan.
Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
right?
Not only that, it's not even just that. It's that he was the one of 3 people, but one of 4 people rather, that were politics. Because like, unfortunately, Elon Musk is in that category now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you
We
can
haven't
almost say he's the shadow president now, right?
Yeah.
He was on the call with
I just read a thing that's like
Zelensky, right?
he's just
Yeah,
been
I heard
at
about that.
Mar-a-Lago the entire time since they
Yeah,
won the
with the
president, and
Mar-a-Lago.
he's just like
Playing
next to
Diablo.
Trump, constantly like making all these decisions and stuff, and people are like, man, Trump's gonna get sick of him.
You hear about that?
He's playing
Yeah,
Diablo
he's like,
4.
isn't he like number 85 of all?
He's top
No,
20,
he's top 20.
which is really,
Oh,
it's just
wow.
really funny that he's playing Diablo 4. Like, it's so funny.
The-
It's probably
you know,
fine
the
now
funny
too.
thing is that
I've
there's
heard
no
it's
way-
I've heard it's like
There's no
fine
way
now.
he would ever have actually that much time to play Diablo 4 if he claims to work as much as he does.
Yeah.
There's no way he could be top
Well-
20 without having someone play his account for him as well.
Well.
Or someone else running his businesses.
Or
Yeah, it's also
he's
true.
just on that much, like, I think because he does ketamine like all the time, right? Just falling in a K-hole, like
Don't get us.
allegedly. Well, I'm more questioning, does ketamine do that? Like coke, to let you stay up all night and play Diablo 4? It doesn't sound. I don't think so. Is that one of the one that's like a tranquilizer? I'm actually not sure what ketamine is. Like, what chemical it is.
Look
Is
it up.
it for horses?
Is it? I don't know. I feel like everything. That's PCP is horse tranquilizer, isn't it? Oh, right.
Pull that shit up.
Fact check.
Dissociative
Anesthetic that has some hallucinogenic effects. Ketamine distorts the perception of sight and sound and makes the user feel disconnected and not in control. Yeah, so that's definitely what you need to be on to play Diablo 4 that much. Because if you're focused on Diablo 4, you'll turn into the Joker. I'm telling you, that's the worst game. Street title.
That game came out,
Jet
and
K,
people
Kit
didn't even
Kat,
like
purple.
Diablo 4, right? Like, aren't real Diablo fans like disappointed with Diablo 4, right?
They
You guys,
were,
It's
but once this, they changed a lot with the new
Yeah.
expansion.
Mhm.
And it's
so
actually kind of cool now. Like, they lowered level cap.
yeah,
added
Blizzard.
raids.
The Blizzard's good at fixing stuff post launch. They really are, unfortunately. But like for me, what I
And then
hated
they
about
break
it
it
was
again.
just how long. Well, yeah, because they're on a cycle.
Yeah.
That gets put on the treadmill, the balance treadmill. But yeah, it was like how far out they put the changes after they launched it. It was like I'm done. This because they were
Well, I
like,
mean, it's an expansion that they
well,
changed.
I know that, but like even when it came out, it was like not great, and they were like, oh, season 1 is in 7 months or something.
Yeah, it was like literally like 3-4 months after launch, and it's like, wow,
way too long after
season
launch,
1,
and it didn't like do anything.
right?
Okay, so is ketamine for horses? Was it
I think it's cat tranquilizer.
It's cat tranquilizer?
Yes.
Okay, because I was gonna say,
I'm assuming it because the first.
It is used for anesthesia, pain, depression, seizures,
Sure.
and asthma.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought it was.
The first
I know
street title
ivermectin for
is
horses,
cat
right?
tranquilizer
Ivermectin
and
is for
cat
horses, yeah.
and cat Valium. That's why I was saying it was cat tranquilizer.
So
I
I
don't
was
think
gonna maybe
I don't think
say
anyone's
there's a
calling it
larger
super
connection
acid.
on the right to horse drugs, right?
Yeah.
Are you saying that all right wingers fuck horses?
I mean,
I'm not
Is that what
saying
you're
they
getting
don't.
you could make that
Can
claim.
you?
Did you guys see the guy who was doing horse electrolytes on
Oh
Twitter?
yeah.
Or I forget
What?
where it was.
Yeah, that guy.
Horse
There was
salt?
a guy,
You
yeah,
didn't
there
see
was a
that?
guy who bought like a bucket of horse electrolytes. And like he's like, I'll never fucking buy Gatorade again. Like my whole being is vibrating with like energy. Yeah, there it is. Boom.
Never buying
Apple a
Gatorade
day.
again. 5 bucket of horse electrolytes from Tractor Supply. Never getting hungover again or being iron deficient. I am the hashtag boss. Sipping on half a horse toast and I feel great.
And see, this is what, people keep talking about. Can we make a leftist Joe Rogan? Can we make a leftist Andrew Tate? This is the kind of shit we got to get in on. We got to get on ketamine. We got to get on a
Horse
horse
electrolytes.
dewormer.
We gotta
gotta
go
get
mad.
Horse electrolytes.
It's
This
time.
is the only way we're gonna have energy to win
It's time to go mad.
power. It's time. Okay.
Gallon of milk a day.
But you know who was
Right.
kind of left wing, like Rogan at one point? Was
Who?
Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
Like we were all kind of raised on like the Daily Show in a way.
Yeah, people hate him now because they're like, he's responsible for the smug liberal. And honestly, I feel like that's the smug
No,
liberal take.
that's a good thing.
No, because
He
it's like
was
the
like
liberal that
fairly
like can go to
leftist.
sleep like, oh, we're better than the Republicans, so they'll just be self-defeating.
Right. Yeah.
I mean-
He had some good things going on. Like I think he was more left than most liberals of the time, but also he's like a super corny like veterans guy at the same time, which is like I don't know, almost kind of distracting. Right? Like he's like
Veterans guy?
Well, because he dropped everything to fight for first responders, like reparations from 9/11.
yeah.
I think was his big thing. And then like yeah, any veterans who, had like medical issues from equipment damage and stuff.
I don't really think that's.
He basically
bad.
just no, it's
that
not.
Sounds kind of like a noble cause that doesn't really bother me.
Yeah,
Of course,
I don't
but
mind
it's
it.
like
We need him to be.
everything
it is.
needs benefits like that. Like
That's what I'm saying. We
have
need a leader who will fight like that for everyone right now.
Yeah.
I think is why we're
That's
getting
what
frustrated.
Right,
But also
that's what he-
because
yeah.
if he's president, he can do that. Whereas if he's just passionately campaigning into the void for it,
So that goes into my next question. What's the future like? What do you guys think the Democrats should do? Should we nominate uh Jon Stewart? Should he be the next Democrat for
I
president?
think I think he would be really good, but I don't like. I mean, I think he could campaign really well, but I don't think he's been. I don't think he'd want it, and I don't think he would. I don't think he would do it. But I think the Democrats have to go if they really want it. They have to campaign on progressive policy. They can't like ignore that anymore.
Yeah,
I feel like
They can't just be Republican light anymore.
they can't just be not Republicans, right? Like, oh,
absolutely.
we're just not red.
Uh,
It's like okay,
yeah,
well,
I think we just absolutely because like if you look at the results, I really do think there was just the progressive wing, the actual progressive bloc in this country, just did not vote for Kamala, and that's why she lost so many votes compared to Biden. I do
and
think
that's
there's
always a problem.
also, I do think because this is America, I do think there's a large population who just didn't vote for her because of she's a her. Um, I don't think that's something you can discount, but I also don't think that that's enough of a block where you should take that lesson away. Like, oh, America's not ready for a woman president. I think it's largely that progressive block that was abandoned the second she brought up Dick Cheney and never promised anything that cost the election.
It's true. I mean, you know, you see it in the numbers. In 2020, there were millions more people. I mean, I think it was like what, 10 million more, like something wild, like 10 million more people voted in the last election, and that's what got,
Right.
corpse
Yeah,
corpse Emperor Joe Biden over the finish line. Like, it was something that people were fighting for. Like, what did they have to fight for this time around? Really, nothing. Just
I
but even
think
if you look at the Senate, we kept Senate seats in swing states. Some of them, I
yeah.
don't. Where she lost those votes for herself, but like we still kept the Senate. People are willing to vote for progressive candidates. I don't know why the DNC as an establishment just doesn't seem to think that that's a viable strategy. But I think
it's
that's what
because
they need to start doing.
I mean the common thought would be that they don't want progressive candidates
Well, yeah, if
because
we're
they're
assuming
they
it's a
because
maliciousness, which I am.
right like the easy way to think about it is just that they also benefit from the same things Republicans do, so they have to campaign on things that aren't progressive and just assume that goodwill will win them the day. And it doesn't really work when people feel the same way I do about that, or same way we do about how like they just seem like they're also taking kickbacks from companies and donors and stuff.
My
Yeah,
next,
there's definitely a class element where many people who are elected in the Democratic Party are, members of that ruling bourgeois class. But I think also it's a messaging thing. Like, the Republicans have won
I,
that war, the messaging war that, Democrats are tax and spend and mess up the economy. Meanwhile, old Trump, remember how cheap things were?
I think
Like,
it's also some kind of maybe like misreading of Obama 2008 because both Hillary and Kamala's campaign are marked kind of by hubris, where it was like a we're going to win, like as a forethought. That's like how they came into the campaign. It's just as their victory was a foregone conclusion, and so their campaign or Kamala's campaign was, hey, uh, if the whole country's going to vote for us because we're not Trump, let's start courting Trump voters
right,
and maybe make it look like an even better win.
right.
Um, and I think that just cost her. I think that's another reason
And
why they
yeah,
tried to
and
make that decision to pivot to the right,
you
which is
can't do that
hubris. They just thought they
unless
were
you're
going to win.
Obama. Like Obama is
Well,
like
Obama
is
didn't. The
Trump's
thing is,
problem.
Obama didn't campaign as if he won. He campaigned as if he was going to lead us into the future. Right? It was
And
like, hey, what Bush
he
is
did some
done.
things.
Wait, wait, he did stuff. I don't think
Yeah,
policy wise he did what he campaigned on fully, but like he brought that energy to the campaign, whereas
right.
Hillary and Kamala just didn't.
Yeah.
I think
All I was
they
gonna
thought
say
that
is
energy
that
was already there and they just didn't.
to to campaign like Obama, you have to be as charismatic as he was, and that's like impossible. Like no one has ever been that charismatic. He's still one of the most charismatic people on the planet.
He's all right.
It's
I
just
think I agree. I do think that Obama. You're right. His charisma carried him, but I do think there was a very big sentiment in 2008 of just kind of being done with W. And then
You
just
look
having
at
someone as charismatic
Obama,
as Obama let him roll with it. But
I mean,
I think
if
he's
you
kind
look
of
at the
because like
if you
even
look
he
at
himself has just been riding that same energy since 2008. Like he never did anything even remotely that close again as far as inspiring anyone.
who didn't Obama
Obama,
did.
yeah,
A lot of people don't drink the Kool-Aid anymore for him. But and even then,
people
I don't,
weren't even by like
I don't
2012.
think, I don't think he even comes off as like ungenuine. I still think he comes off pretty genuine.
yeah, he just
Even
seems like a
today,
genuine Democrat. That's his
Right,
right?
thing.
right.
He comes off as like the actual head of the party.
Yeah.
Like he comes off as the guy who should take over for Nancy Pelosi.
I feel like yeah, was just really good at playing the game, played it well, but I think like everyone was just trying to kind of like siphon off that residual energy and just kind of assumed they had some kind of mandate, which is
Well,
just not a way to be running campaigns after that. Like,
the thing that people took from Obama was the charisma, but something I think a lesson they didn't learn from him is he did market himself as a big change candidate. I mean, remember,
100%.
that's what I
yeah,
mean.
I
It wasn't
remember,
the charisma that he gave that. It was just that he was running on like, hey, I'm gonna bring us to the future. I'm offering
right,
change. He
because
was
I remember
offering
he won the
something.
nomination over Hillary because he promised. I mean, I remember when I was a big Obama fan back then, he was promising like nuclear deproliferation, like getting rid of nuclear weapons, like all this stuff no one would ever touch. And of course, uh, some form of public healthcare thing, which I guess, to his credit, he did eventually come out with Obamacare, which wasn't what we were hoping for. But I mean, it just brings up a point. Like the most successful campaigns since then are all based on change. Obama was all about change. Bernie Sanders was all about a radical change, and you can even say Trump.
He's
A lot of
promising
people who
change.
vote for Trump
Trump
are
is
right wing yahoos, but a lot of people who voted for him also think he's an outsider or whatever. So
yeah, because
I think
people
it points to a broader want amongst the populace that uh,
And
people
just
want
there are
a
I,
change in direction.
people who are dissatisfied with the status quo
Yeah,
just
and
vote for
and
the
and
other party.
and that's what killed. I think ultimately killed Kamala's campaign is she was very much she was even marketing herself as the status quo. And even Joe Biden was doing that thing before, back to sanity, back
Right?
to
right.
whatever.
Nothing will substantially change
Yeah,
Joe Biden.
Exactly. And you
yeah.
can even see it with, I mean, just look at who Kamala used to be. She used to be known as a progressive senator. She co-sponsored Bernie's Medicare for All bill, and then when she ran as presidential candidate, she's miles away from that. She's like, I don't support Medicare for All at all, despite having co-sponsored it. So everyone just saw through that. So
She, and I think you mentioned it earlier, but she didn't really promise anything.
she did.
And that's it. Like Obama promised change to deliver, but you don't have to deliver. You have to promise it. You have to at least pretend you're playing the game when you're campaigning. And even Biden did it. He didn't promise much, but promising that we're not Trump is a promise.
Yeah,
Kamala kind of did, but you kind of can't make that claim like, oh, we're not going back and all this blah 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 when you were in control of everything for 4 years and nothing got tangibly better.
yeah. And at the end of the day, most voters are not that tapped into politics. They're looking at things were cheap under Trump. things are expensive now, and if you don't give them a good message as to what you can do about that, whether it be price controls, which they tried to market, but it came across as communism, even though Trump is talking about all these other market manipulation tactics. Like we talked about tariffs earlier, we talked about, I don't know, like reindustrialization, which is never going to happen in the U.S. But yeah, they don't have a good, sensible, realistic message. And I'm not talking about implementing socialism or whatever, but like it would be nice if we could get back to, let's work toward Medicare for all. Let's work for free or assisted higher education.
Right.
Honestly, I think
I
at
don't.
this point there's been a lot of progressive asking points that have been dangled in front like carrots, just for the bare minimum of those platitudes. But I think at this point it's 2024. A lot of stuff that we were asking for 10 years ago in 2016 is just like we're not even keeping up. Our asking for
Yeah.
raising the
No,
minimum
no
wage
one's
isn't even
talking about
keeping it up.
Medicare for all anymore. It
Well, right.
seems,
It's because that theory about the minimum wage not actually being relevant is actually kind of proving to be somewhat true right now, which is kind of a problem. Where it's like there's no one's actually paying the minimum wage, but wages are still going up. Like wage growth has been going up, so it's like you can't really campaign on that kind of thing because
Right. Well,
it's
because
not
like
doing
15
anything.
an hour minimum wage sounded way better in 2016. But
Well,
now,
right.
like you said, most people just pay 15 an hour. 15 an hour, it's not like that's not where we need to be.
Well, yeah, ton of money.
That's what I'm saying. Like even
it's
just
nothing.
like right. Uh, so like the fact that we still have like Bernie Sanders being like, I'm gonna fight for $15 an hour federal minimum wage. Like our fight to raise the minimum wage has fallen behind even the minimum wage falling behind.
Right. And I don't think
Uh,
he's actually necessarily saying he's going to fight for that specifically. It's
I
more
think
like he was like he's disappointed that the federal minimum wage still hasn't gone up despite everything going
right.
on.
And like the
And he doesn't say
codification
that.
of Roe v. Wade and all these other rights where like we could have, why didn't any
Right.
of these things happen in the last 4 years?
Yeah, I
And I
think it
think
just goes to show
that frustration
how,
is felt by a lot of people.
yeah, it just shows how far, the conversation has got away from whatever you want to call it, progressive policies, etc. Everyone's talking about, I don't fucking know what people talking about. Like, what was Trump running on even? What was
It's the
his,
grocery bills.
He's running off
It's what
of
he ran on.
quote
That's what
unquote
people are talking
economics and
about.
immigration.
yeah,
People are
Like that's if you
worried
look at
about
any
immigration
like
for some
street
reason.
interview, that's what people talk about.
Yeah,
And it's
people
like, oh wow, he's not going to do anything else differently than Kamala would. So
people at work are telling me they voted for him specifically because of the grocery bills and their gas bill and just prices.
that's
oh,
that's definitely why he won.
Um, well,
the
that's what he was.
gas
Whether
bill
he would
thing.
make shit cheap or not, the average just
That's what he's
NPC
promising.
voter is.
They know it's probably bullshit, but he's promising it. People would rather like vote for the promise of something with the expectation of nothing than just vote for the promise of nothing.
Right.
And I feel like I've been repeating that a lot, but I think that's
I
really what
think
it comes
it's
down to.
I think it's true. Where it's like people. I mean, you can only go off of so much when it comes to who you're voting for, right? So if someone says that they're going to do something and they don't do it, well, then the egg's on your face. But like, what could you really have done differently?
Right. All you can do is vote for the guy who says he's going to do
Right, because
something.
I mean,
Like, I like
that's the game.
I'll vote.
Like, you you just have to. You have to do that, even if you're not going to promise it. Even if everyone knows it's a sham, you have to even go through those motions, and they just weren't even willing to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
So what do you guys think Trump the sequel is going to be like? Do you think it's going to be a lot of the same as last time around, or do you think it's going to be more melted? We got some weird folks showing up in the Trump camp. We got RFK Jr. We talked about Elon Musk maybe being shadow vice president. JD Vance is a weird motherfucker. What do you think is ahead for us once Joe's out? What do you guys think?
I think
I don't even know what to think.
domestically there's gonna be a lot of like funny things happening. I think like deregulations, cut a lot of like bizarre accidents or like just
Yeah.
weird mishaps or campaign information getting leaked. A lot of like just stories that are gonna be outlandish. I think the things to keep an eye on are whatever's going on in Ukraine and Putin,
Right.
uh,
That's basically what I would
and
say
like
too.
what those border. I think the most likely theory I read is that they're probably going to force Ukraine to concede and just lock in the current borders and go from there.
Which is not a good precedent to set, but that's
Right. Well, I mean, so I think we're definitely going to get more Russia expansionist. China's interesting because like outwardly Trump's very anti-China, but then like internally he's very pro-China. Like,
They've had a lot of mixed
yeah,
messaging on China. Like JD Vance, it's all in vogue to say we're gonna fight China, but I think a lot of people in the know are realizing to
and it's too important to the world
to try to
economy.
counter China in the Pacific region is not a realistic dream. Like I think like the Democrats, maybe I think maybe Joe Biden personally was very hawkish on China just because I don't think he was with the current moment, but
for sure.
I think hopefully people and JD Vance has hinted at this. Hopefully we can realize we can't just pester China. We can't just
Well, I think it.
push them around. Like that might be their sphere of influence, whether for better or for worse.
I think it's a little theatrical. Like I think it's a good selling point to bluster about China, but I think like a lot of their internal dealings are still like they make a lot of money off China.
Right.
They're gonna keep making money
But
off China. Uh,
to like imagine,
so it's
we
kind of
talk
like
about how Joe Biden lost because everything got more expensive. Imagine, a greater adversarial look towards China, they're the country that makes everything. Like,
right.
how are you gonna
Right.
piss that country off? Go
Because
ahead, Ron.
well, there was a lot of stuff in the first Trump administration with Kushner and Ivanka, and they did like a giant patent deal with China. Uh, and then Trump just likes the last dictator he spoke to, so like one phone call with Xi Jinping, and we're pro China again.
It could be a Nixon thing. Like only Nixon could be seen as anti-China enough to make peace with China. I don't know. Who knows? Who's to say?
Kind of a wild concept, isn't it?
Yeah. Right.
I think this is definitely this century is China's to lose for sure.
Yeah.
I think the
I
ball's in
mean,
their
it's
court right now for a lot of
I mean,
things.
economically, sure, but I think if like it came down to military might, I don't think it's really a contest between America and anyone else.
I mean, I don't know
But
anymore.
it's just like we have
It's
so
been so
much
long since we've
firepower. Like
had
we have so much
uh,
firepower that if
big,
it came
large.
down to actually having a war, America probably comes out on top almost every time because we have no like you have to go through Canada or Mexico to get to us on land, which is like not easy, right? Um, and then but for China, you can land in like India
Yeah,
and all
I
that.
don't
Like
I
you
don't
can
know
stage in
if
Japan.
I don't know if we'll ever actually see like a large scale invasion of the New World.
Oh yeah, no, I don't disagree, but
Not
I
even
think
for
that's
like
just
logistical things. I
hypothetically.
think I really do think the still Cold War predictions of World War III are accurate. I don't. It's either going to be just mutually assured destruction, or it's going to be more like we're seeing in these last few years, where it's all just like information warfare, Cold War II style
like
affairs.
I wonder if something would happen like you see with Israel and Iran, like they do back and forth weird retaliations where they launch a bunch of missiles at each other or something, and I feel like that's what would happen. But
Yeah.
um, I don't know. Who knows? Who the fuck knows anymore?
Have you heard about the
I don't want to
North
find out.
Koreans in Ukraine?
Yeah,
What's
Like
they're
that?
like,
anything about that?
did you see that? They fucking like
I don't even know
they
what's
have
happening
access
with
to
it.
porn for the first time.
Oh yeah, I did see
and
that
they
guy.
just can't stop jacking off.
I did see that. They keep getting caught like watching TikTokers.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
Ukraine?
like like North Korean soldiers don't have access.
That's what
they have access to porn for the first time.
I'm more
So they're
like.
just
I
like
didn't
straight.
even hear, like, didn't even know there was North Koreans in Ukraine until that story. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's like an unsubstantiated thing, but
All right, I'm just it is kind of like a meme to talk about.
that
Right.
is
It
funny that
doesn't surprise me in that like Russia and North Korea are both kind of like isolationist right now, and then they're have a border with each other, kind of. I mean, I guess
I mean,
it is a border. I just
it
I
is
don't really
also.
know what goes on in Eastern Russia.
They were long considered allies for whatever reason,
Well, because they're both communist states,
quote unquote.
and then the border, and then their positions against the West, get also the positions against Japan after World War II. Like, there's a lot of reasons North Korea and Russia would be allies. I feel like geopolitically.
yeah, they're definitely. I mean, if you want to put up a resistance against the U.S., there's only so many countries you can really ally yourself with. At least for now. Who knows if that would change
Right. And
eventually?
Well, I
how
think
does Russia rebuild after this conflict
China.
with Ukraine?
China.
Well, who knows? Because I think China's taken a very like kind of
Neutral.
measured position on this. They're not. I
They
don't think
haven't.
they've
Yeah, they haven't
provided.
outwardly supported Russia, and they haven't. They also didn't. What the fuck's the word? They didn't sanction Russia
I
either.
thought, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they didn't sanction it. I thought China was doing a lot of the funneling of food into Russia right now, and like
I think they've
Afghanistan, the
provided
Middle
a
East.
lot of like non-offensive aid. Is
Yeah,
the official line. I don't really know what that means, but
You're probably
I think
like
they've.
food,
I think.
like
Yeah, I think
rations.
like that's where they were able to still buy food from after a lot of the sanctions hit.
Yeah,
And why
and I
wouldn't you
think
sell them food? Because dying to starvation is a lot less
right.
Oh,
concerning
I'm
than
gonna start
weaponry.
cracking my knuckles into my mic.
Dude, that's not good.
I'm just like sitting here like.
But they've done a good job of positioning themselves in a role that the US used to take a lot in, arbiter of peace between countries. That's a leadership position as much as throwing your strength around,
I think
So
they're
Yeah.
just China wants to be like, well, whatever is best for us,
Well, yeah. China's been there for
and I can't
4,000
really
years.
blame them for that.
yeah.
China
Yeah,
will probably be there for 4,000 more years.
that's right.
I mean, we just
Um
call it China, right? Did they call it? Did they even call it China like in the year 200?
I
yeah,
mean,
what does China call China, right?
Yeah,
Because
when?
I
Yeah,
think
I
China comes from like the Roman word for the Qin dynasty, and obviously the Qin dynasty's not there. I don't know. I don't know. Ask a Chinese.
I think
Someone in
officially they
college.
do consider like all the different dynasties and emperors going all the way back as like the same continuous through line.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, I don't
and
know.
the Qin.
It's
So I guess the Qin dynasty supposedly is the first great Chinese empire, which I don't know where they. Oh, okay. No, that makes sense. Qin is just that's how you China, dude.
That was the
That
Chi the
it's that
yeah,
that's how you get. That's how they get
Qin.
it.
China.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they
that
had
makes
and
sense.
then the
because like if you
yeah,
look at the proto-human stuff, like the Yellow River valleys, like Mesopotamia 2.0 or better or whatever. Not
yeah,
bad,
it
it's
had like
just
a
like it's
warring state period or something, and then they combined, and then
so it's
Yeah,
like
they
how
had the Warring State, and then they had the Han Dynasty, then they had the Three Kingdoms period, then they had the Jin
right. So
Dynasty.
like we say, like China's been there for 4,000 years, the same way we like look at the Middle
Well,
East in similar
20,
situations.
2,200 years
I
to be exact.
whatever. I'm.
To be precise and
I
accurate.
mean, actually, if you think about it, China's been there since whenever the continents first finally solidified to where we think about them now.
yes, it's the Indian plate
Yeah,
slammed into
whatever.
the Eurasian plate or whatever.
Yeah,
Got it.
Since Gondwana land.
See, a long time ago there was a hot den soup, and then expansion started something something Big Bang Theory theme song.
Okay.
Bare naked ladies.
Do you guys have any last thoughts on the election or politics in general?
No, because I feel like we've covered a lot of it, and even the stuff. Oh God, it does both. Okay, I can't zoom out my normal Twitter. Oh,
Wow, you still use Twitter, Elon Musk scumbag.
yeah, it's too funny.
Go to Bisky, go
I
to
do.
Blueski,
I do.
and just stay there. Just stay there.
I have been using Blue Sky a lot more.
That's
Do you like Blueski or
I do.
If you right now,
You know why I
Yeah,
like it?
Blueski.
You know why I like Blueski? It's because it fucking doesn't send me shit I'm not following.
oh,
That's
Well,
why I like Blueski.
if your For You
That's why I
page
got off
sucks,
Threads.
it kind of sucks. But yeah, you have to give the algorithm what you want. Like right now, my For You page is fine. If I see Nazi stuff, it's usually the kind of stuff I get mad at. But I just block the account or
I don't
get
want
mad
to
at
be
it.
mad at it. I just don't want that anger.
Oh yeah, if you don't want to be
That
mad, then
keeps
Twitter's probably
the
not.
thing is, being angry is like actually a good feeling because it makes you feel alive, right? It's the same reason people like watching sad things or watching things that make them laugh. It makes you feel emotion. It gives you emotion, right? So the easiest way to get anyone to stay on something is to make them angry because things make people angry more commonly than they make them laugh or make them sad. It's just the way it is because things that make you laugh or make you sad at some point could eventually make you angry, right? So if something is so unfunny to you that it makes you angry, that's a win. So you just make stuff that makes you mad. So companies know this now. That's why the news sucks. That's why clickbait articles exist. It's because it makes you mad. And that's why I hate Twitter. Because they just make you mad and people do clickbait fucking topics where it's like, oh, look at this as non-aesthetic thing. And it's like, oh great. That's exactly what I want. And then is ugh.
Film Twitter's great because people do that, but then
but
then there's
bad, and it's like, oh, cool, that's great opinion.
Right, they do that. But then I get to see just a lot of well-measured responses where people are like, "Hey, this is a bait post. Like, this is how you can apply this and how you think about art in your day-to-day life, or how you can make better." But I just get a lot of people analyzing a bait post and how it can relate to your relationship to art, or how it speaks to the person who posts it view of art or movies in general. It's kind of fun. That's why Film Twitter's the best.
I just think that finding reasons to like something is more interesting than finding reasons to hate something.
I agree.
That's what makes a good credit.
I think it is harder to express why you like something in general.
Mm-hmm. It's easy to know why you don't like something, but your people are often terrible at explaining how to make that thing better or how to change it for the better.
Yeah, they just want to be like, it's trash. It's
I think you're right. Right, so you want to change it for the better, or there's a common critique where it's just if you think you've outsmarted whoever made the thing in front of you, that's that's the critique. Is that the whole critique is just you thinking you've outsmarted the piece of whatever you're critiquing.
Right.
That just
when people
just don't like
criticize games that come out for the technology not being there or whatever, to use a game we've already talked about as an example, I was part of a discussion when Diablo 4 came out that the inventory was too small and that the programmers were bad at programming because the inventory was too small. And all I could think was, how do you even know that is the case? You know what I mean? Because they were like, oh, I could have made it bigger because I know how to program. And it's like, that's not a good reason for anything you just said.
My favorite.
How do you know that was the intention?
My favorite example of that is World of Warcraft. Where it took them 30 years to figure out how to make the starting backpack more than 16 slots.
Yeah, because it was hard coded in, right? Yeah, that's funny.
it just is extra funny when applied to Diablo 4 because they were making that from scratch, which then should inform you, should be in the emphasis that that was a deliberate decision someone made and not.
Right. I mean, I will give them credit.
You could not
Supposedly,
like the
they-
decision.
supposedly, the reason that they had to be as small as it was is because of the always online.
Oh yeah, I forgot
functionality,
about that. And it would
and
like you would load
it would
everyone's
load
inventory.
everyone's bank when you would run into them, and that's like a crazy way to do things
Yeah.
in a way. But also, how do we know that wasn't the only way it would work? Like, how do you know that they tried other things and it wasn't working without doing this one thing?
Right, like I don't know.
Right.
I think that just kind of adds up to like why Diablo 4 is really funny because there's a lot of things where like once they explain the decision, you're just more baffled than when you were
Blizzard is
guessing.
really good at explaining why they do things, and they always have been. You
Yeah,
don't have to agree with why, but they've always been really good at explaining why.
no, but that's why I mainly stopped with Diablo 4 because like I could see
Oh, it's not because
where
you
they
can't
could
get
fill
back
it
to your
in.
account?
Well, that's why I haven't wanted to get back in the account.
Calvin would be above Elon Musk right now if he could
No, no.
That's true. No, that's
remember
true.
his login password.
Well, no, it's because
No.
my BattleNet is tied to my email I had middle school that like do the Dr Pepper 1445 at Yahoo. I can't sign into that anymore.
Someone's gonna fucking hack your email now because you said it.
Just,
And
just said the
they'll get it
email
back for you.
address.
They'll get it back for you. Like,
Sure.
someone's gonna find your password.
Yeah, it's not
and be
like
like, yo,
Calvin's using it.
Good spam that email address. I can't. I have not logged into in 20 years.
hell yeah.
How do you even get good at Diablo? Like, isn't it a fucking single player game? Like,
No.
It's like it's
Diablo
weird.
4's ranking is like kill times and difficulty rate. Like, just it's like
Yeah.
is there
clearing a difficulty.
in Diablo? Like, if Elon Musk challenged you to a fucking Diablo battle, would he swim off the sword with you?
PvP in Diablo
Is
4 is stupid. It's stupid.
Is it ever not stupid?
Because Diablo 2, at least there was some like little like duels wouldn't be over in 2 seconds.
Well, they are, but like
But
people have learned to play around it to the point where you just avoid that 2 seconds as long as
Right,
possible.
because in Diablo 2, like there isn't crazy movement tech like there is in the Diablo 3 and 4.
No, that's actually why duels aren't over in 2 seconds because people have found all the crazy movement tech that lets you not just get immediately
what I mean
obliterated.
Is, like, you can't like leap in Diablo 3 and 4 on the barbarian is like a half a second animation, whereas in Diablo 2 it's like fucking
Diablo 2.
like how long? It's like and then you just, like,
well, yeah, but I
in
think
the air for like 30 minutes.
in Diablo 2 they had to ban Enigma from duels because
I mean, that's true. Yeah, you're right. I did forget about teleport. To be honest with you,
just the boop dead.
I did forget about teleport as a skill. That being said, like either way, the being the top player in Diablo isn't necessarily like a PvP thing. It's like it's a scaling difficulty with a clear time that's high. So like he was able to clear X difficulty in Y time, and that's good enough for like rank number 19 out of 20 or whatever. And just to be clear, that is a third-party website. So it's not a complete like a list of every player in the world.
I do think we need to pivot before we forget about this because this is actually the most important issue facing our country right now, and that's the 43 lab monkeys that escaped from South Carolina that we've only found one of still.
They found one. They're saying that was
actually
all
crazy.
that.
Yeah,
That's actually insane that they can't find
They
them.
can't find them because monkeys are hard to find, and that's why Bigfoot's real.
That's a good point.
I don't know why it's real.
Well,
that
are you saying
monkeys are hard to find? That's what I mean. That's been a very popular.
That's a prevailing theory. You know, there's two.
Because ape is a suborder of monkey. I'm pretty sure, so I don't think we're wrong to call Bigfoot a monkey.
No. That's right. But listen, there's two sets of thinking when it comes to Bigfoot. you can take that he's like a demon in the classical sense of an understanding, like Inuyasha's a demon. He's not like a bad guy. He just like is
He's a
like
cat.
an elemental, you know,
He's just yeah.
or he's an undiscovered primate. So it depends. But
Well,
Calvin, like you said, it brings up a good point. I think there was a video someone took of the monkeys jumping around in just the woods. Um, and if someone like took that just as a video, if I saw that on like Nuke's top 5 like spooky cryptid videos, I'd be like, I don't know what that is. That could be anything.
Right.
also, well, I think it's like even in Florida they have skunk apes, which they think are like escaped orangutans from a zoo or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think
See
they
if you can
have
find that
skunk
video.
apes, but
Look that up.
oh, ooh, yeah.
Pull it up.
But then
Escape.
oh, you said
lab.
undiscovered monkey. I think a lot of people think he's a Gigantopithecus. They're like
Yeah.
big old extinct orangutans.
Well,
Am I pulling
they
up?
say that if you
Monkeys.
subscribe to that theory, a
Was
lot
that
of
like
the
in South
native
Carolina?
monkeys. Yeah. This is the video I'm talking about.
25 of the 42 missing monkeys who escaped a
Okay,
research
that's
center in
kind of
South
obvious,
Carolina have
though.
now been captured. The
But-
monkeys made
No,
a
that's
break for
Bigfoot,
it
dude.
Wednesday after an
Wait,
employee
wait,
failed
wait.
to securely
Okay, we
lock
have
a
caught more
door.
than one.
They're trying to use
Like if
food
I
to
saw
lure
that
them
on
back
like
into the
a
center.
video
Who says
aggregator,
the
I'd be
public
like,
is not
come
in
on, I
any
don't know.
danger. None of the monkeys have been used in
Like, what is
testing. They say they're too young to carry disease.
If someone
but the
said that
federal
was a
government
ghost, I'd be like,
has fined this facility in
How
the
long?
past
11
following
hours ago.
similar
Okay, so they're doing a good
escapes.
job catching these
Hello, I'm
monkeys.
Mark Brown. Get more great
Did
ABC7
that say they
content
found
by
25
clicking the
monkeys?
subscribe button for
Yeah.
our YouTube
18
channel.
remain on the
And
loose.
download the ABC7 Los Angeles streaming app on
We
Fire
should have been more
TV,
current
Android
with this.
TV, Apple TV,
Because
and
earlier
Roku
today it was
to
only
watch
one.
on your TV.
I mean, maybe it's like maybe they're using the monkeys as bait to catch the other ones. But like
do we know like what they were doing to these monkeys?
No, I actually have not
They said they
looked into
weren't
like what the
testing them.
monkeys like where they were. It's just like a zoo mishap. Let's go back to that Vox article. Maybe it says
Yeah, what is it? So
escape
there's
from
like a
Alpha Genesis
video
Research
playing-
Laboratory in Yemassee, South Carolina, when an employee failed to properly secure the door to their enclosure.
So that guy's fired. Right. That guy's out the job. Monkey supervisor.
Well, there is a quote. A nearby resident and member of the Yemassee Town Council told the New York Times, "We're no strangers to seeing monkeys randomly."
Okay, that's a weird.
So maybe this just
Statement.
happens all the time.
They're just getting out all the time.
Yeah, there's just always monkeys outside of this. I went to a place in California, Yuba City. It used to be like an agricultural town, but then they started building a bunch of developments off the interstate. They just let all the chickens free. And so now the whole town is just like overrun by chickens.
Hell yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can just
There was a monkey
take a
panic
chicken.
here in Portland, Maine, but it ended up being a squirrel with mange.
Okay.
Oh,
But I don't know. What do you guys think? Does this we made the cryptid connection.
I think it does.
Do these monkeys have a right to freedom? Should they be allowed to explore the wilderness of
Well,
Yemassee, South Carolina?
I feel like by like morally, yeah, but like for like just like those monkeys' micro lives, I feel like yeah, they probably should be free. But on like a micro environmental thing, like could a population of monkeys survive in the Carolinas? Would it do with like that kind of? We're just like putting in a population of small omnivores into the wild. What does that do to the
Monkeys been in
ecosystem?
the zoo?
Well,
It's
it's
not
not
a
a
zoo.
zoo. It's a testing facility.
Sorry. How long have they been there?
Yeah, can the monkeys even survive?
Right.
That's
Like,
another
like,
question.
were they raised there? Because I don't know. Yeah, like would they even know how to live out?
It's like I am pro ape in Planet of the Apes. I completely agree with William H. Macy's character in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Well, I haven't seen it, so
Uh,
cannot comment.
I mean, if you're not seeing the fourth of the second set of Planet of the Apes movies, that's
I think I only
get
saw
culture.
the Mark Wahlberg one.
That's, I mean,
I think I
I
saw
feel like
the
objectively
third.
that's the worst one, but it's not like a bad movie. I mean, it's a bad movie. It's fun.
It's a bad movie.
Tim Roth is General Thade. He's going crazy as that chimp villain.
Calling someone a chimp really feels weird.
Well, he's actually a chimpanzee.
No, I understand that. It's really weird, but man, he's going crazy as a chimp.
So yeah, I think the ape should be free. I just don't know, like, if we morally, like, if our duty is arbiters of whatever.
I mean, I am
We
pro
should let
zoo
them.
as long as the zoo is like humane.
Yeah, I'm pro, like, animal preservations, like wildlife preservations that, like, use income from tourists to stay open. But when it's just like a zoo and it's like, look at this box with this sad tiger in it. It's like,
Yeah, like that's I mean, like you couldn't get some tiger friends. Like, come on.
or like give it some space.
Well, a lot of zoos, it's like they can't live in captivity, right? Like they're animals that were born in captivity or something.
Right.
Like zoos do breeding programs or something, right? It's
I
not
will
like
say,
they're like
I think
snatching them out the jungle.
isn't Disney's Animal Kingdom the biggest zoo in the world?
Probably, I believe that
Have
sounds.
you
I
been
believe
there?
it.
Anyone else been there besides me?
No, that's in Disney World, right?
I've
Yeah,
never been to Disney.
it's actually kind of insane. You go
Probably.
to do the safari drive, and it's like an entire area that's like just made to emulate like a savanna for like lions, and like you'll just drive through it, and there's just lions chilling, and they don't even they must be used to it by now. Like they don't come up to the car, but like they're just out there, and yeah, like literally, like it's kind of crazy, uh, but they have tons of space because the whole concept of it is that you're in the animals space as opposed to you visiting a space we made for the animals.
Uh,
Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense.
yeah, that makes sense.
Because like I think like the way Disney does it is the way I would prefer most zoos do it. I just don't know if there's like a logistical space for most places to do it.
Right. Well, what I'm proposing is that if you don't have a space to properly care for these animals, maybe you don't have a zoo.
Well, right, but then how are you gonna make money?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. We shouldn't just be having places like that that make money.
Abandoned islands in Disney, and they're like filled with alligators or something, right? Isn't there like an abandoned treasure island?
I think
I
And
think
like
yeah, I think
it's like an Urbac's Holy Grail or something.
I think the whole point of it was that they were going to make a treasure island location, and they just didn't finish it.
So, oh, fuck it, let the alligators have it.
The alligators took it over. It's Island of the Alligators.
well, let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, here we
That's
go.
Is this it?
2017. Disney knew its park was full of alligators. It caught hundreds before boy was killed.
Oh,
That's
damn.
Oh yeah.
I mean, hey,
oh yeah.
they caught hundreds of them?
A 2-year-old kid was attacked at Disney World by an alligator.
I mean,
I don't remember.
I don't remember this either.
They caught him. I mean,
Did it say he was killed?
2016, yeah.
damn.
Let's see.
That
More
was
than
caught up in the
220 animals removed from the location between 2006 and 2015. Increased to
Is
more
this
than
before or
40 a
after
year.
Harambe?
This is
Yeah, when
That's a
did
good
that
question. That's a good question. Probably about the same time.
happen?
Because like,
That was
if it's after Harambe,
Yeah,
we
that
both
happened.
know why that this didn't get any coverage. The Disney machine was like, "No, just talk about Harambe instead."
They had Harambe killed. That's why they wanted to distract.
They had a kid die in their park, and then they were like, "Let's just sacrifice another
Where?
kid to the gorilla."
I think the Cincinnati Zoo killed a gorilla.
Yeah, they could make them have the news story.
Yeah.
It's like, damn.
I don't know where this happened, but that's crazy. Harambe, that's crazy too. They should have let him live. They should have kept letting tourists sacrifice people to
Yeah, they should
Harambe.
have just been like,
Make Harambe killing you an attraction.
Right? It's not like Harambe's fault.
that would be crazy if Harambe just like ripped that kid apart, like limb from limb. And
Yeah,
they're like,
that'd
oh
be-
shit, probably
It
should
would
have
have
done
been on.
that.
It would have been on camera too.
Yeah.
You're right.
That's
That
the
would have
crazy
been.
thing.
Yeah, Imagine that live leak, like just a
Oh.
gorilla like murdering some 6-year-old or whatever.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
No, it's great. What are you talking about? It's wonderful.
So I think we can come to a conclusion that in order
Yeah.
to work on their messaging problem, the Dems need to promise more Harambe-like attractions in this country.
They need to
Yeah.
kill. They need to kill. Maybe not a gorilla, like maybe a giraffe or something.
Did you hear about the elephant?
Somehow.
The fucking elephant named Kamala, like just died in India in October. Just dropped dead for no reason.
Well, there was Mo Dang predicted that Trump would win.
That's what I'm saying. Mu
Maybe
Dang
the Dems
predicted
should
it.
kill Mo Dang.
The elephants.
Add Mu Dang to the Clinton kill list. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like Mu Dang reminds me a
No,
lot
dude.
of that Nathan for you,
Wu
baby.
Dang is a psyop.
duck
Wu
thing.
Dang is a psyop. I'm not gonna. I will die on that hill.
Yes.
Wu-Dang.
The thing is, though, I'm pro CCP psyop, so I'm alright with that.
No.
Mu Dang is Thailand or something, right?
Oh,
Who's
that's right.
Thailand alone?
You're right. That's me being racist. I'm sorry. I forgot it was Thailand. You know, even if it is a CCP psyop, I'm pro that.
Yeah. Okay. Do we want to move on to our next displaced animals story?
I don't have it up.
The penguin that swam all the way to Australia.
How to do that?
It swam.
You ever heard of this?
No.
This is a breaking Well, we didn't break the story, but we're being
Yes, we are.
Right.
We're
Sure,
breaking
we
this
didn't
story.
break it. We're bleeding edge.
we're cutting through the fog of the current moment with our analysis on this, just like the channel description. But
Mm-hmm.
I have my own theory on this. I'm thinking back to the Werner Herzog documentary on penguins, and there was a very poignant part of that documentary where there's a phenomenon of emperor penguins, walking away from their community, their family, their loved ones, and no one knows why. They'll just walk off into the mountains and die. And I've always wondered if they have some kind of concept like life could be better. Like I don't have to be part of this cycle, the system. Maybe this is the penguin that got away. He made it to warmer shores, greener pastures. What do you guys think? What do you guys think this penguin had some motivation? Is this, maybe a climate problem? What do you guys think?
Well, you definitely don't swim 2,200 miles without being motivated in some way.
So where did he land?
This town of Denmark in Australia.
A tourist beach in Australia. He was found by some surfers.
Don't.
Surfers witnessed him trying to do a belly slide in the sand. Obviously, it didn't work because it's not snow.
Right.
Um,
Sure, it's not a Lagombi.
No, it's a
yeah.
penguin, not a bear. Come on.
Sure, no, it's a bunny.
it's a penguin. Look at the penguin. He's right there.
He's right
He's
there.
in
That's
Australia. He's
the
living
penguin.
life.
That is the penguin.
He's hanging out with surfers and tourists. He probably wants a dang. He's the one that got away. All the other ones died in the frozen mountains. I feel like there's a drive. Like it's the same drive that leads people to leave their small town, their bumfuck Oklahoma town, and
So I do think the penguin's experiencing that. I don't know it arriving what that speaks to. It's either was this penguin more motivated than other penguins, or does it speak to just a general destruction of the ocean population, that there's just that little things that would have interrupted a penguin swimming 2,200 miles across the ocean.
Like would an orca have snatched him up?
I'm saying any orca, dolphin, shark, just curious tuna or something. I don't just nothing got him, which can happen given infinite penguins and infinite time. One of them was bound to. We do see that all the time. There's I think there was some kind of reptile species that had was in South America that's related to African species, but they don't know how it got over there. I don't never read the specifics, so I'm not gonna say anything more than that. But like, you do see this thing where just like animals make their way across the ocean somehow.
We had that stellar sea eagle in Maine that's native to Siberia or something.
Yeah,
That's crazy, actually. That's
It's-
far.
yeah, it's the determined penguin. That is, I didn't know that. That they just like do that. They just get up and leave.
They do that, yeah, and a lot of times they die. This is the one. I wonder,
Wow. On me
you
out.
know, where he was heading. He was apparently just chilling on the beach, trying to do ice slides in the sand. So
Yeah,
I wonder
that's-
if he regrets his decision, if he's realized what's on the other side, and he wants to
Now,
go
have
back. Or...
we considered the possibility that there was an Australian tourist who went to like he's a planted penguin? Do we know the veracity of this penguin?
How did we know that the penguin wasn't just a big fan of Madagascar and swam the wrong direction?
We don't. That's what I'm saying. This penguin's motives, they're mysterious, unknowable.
He was discovered by surfers. Right? They're not known for their interrogation skills, right?
I mean, I wouldn't ask it. I would not be asking this penguin any questions. I would be surfing with it.
And they're not sure what to do with them. Like the future's uncertain.
Yeah, that's. Now we were talking about the monkeys being free. I think you give this penguin a house, set him up, get him a job. This is a functioning member of that Australian society now.
We might as well be.
He's fucking richer than we will be.
Yeah, I mean he's already accomplished more than I'll accomplish.
Yeah,
I ain't swimming. I ain't doing that.
200 miles. That's
It's insane.
That's endurance.
It's absolutely insane. And I think this penguin deserves the world for it.
Very
Okay.
impressive.
Well, I think we've covered everything we wanted to talk about on today's show, right, guys?
I would say so.
Yeah, I think that's all we had prepared.
Okay. Well, on behalf of all of us, I'm Charlie,
I'm
Calvin.
Calvin.
We got Robbie Wills,
Robbie will.
Robbie Will Smith, and
Don't say my full name.
It's too late. You're on the most popular. You're on the most popular news show on YouTube. Your face is out there. I think you actually talked the most this episode too. So if you didn't want people to know, you shouldn't have had so many fired up opinions just ready to go at the drop of a hat.
Well, that's just what I do. I ramble.
Yeah, Robbie,
And people just let me go.
Ramble and Robbie.
People just let me go, and I don't shut the hell up.
Trying to make a living, doing the best you can.
You gotta get a button. It's like shut up, like record it. It's like shut up, Robbie.
No, you.
Actually, I don't think I can because you own this Discord channel that we're in. Which is why you're able to just jump in.
What is that? Is that why?
Yeah.
Well,
it's fine. No, that's.
There we go.
And that's our show.